name is Meredith Jue, and my presentation this morning is on autism, Asperger's, and ableism. So I am kind of just going to get moving through this. I think we have about a 5-minute window to kind of give you an update, a brief overview about what this presentation is. So I'm going to go through a couple of things pretty quickly, and then there are some things I definitely want to hit for you guys as classmates to see, and I think are important for you to know on the shorter term about the presentation. So, I would start the 1-hour presentation by kind of an interactive portion of it. What do you already know about autism? And having people record information about that on their handouts. And then it has space also for additional notes as we move through the presentation. Okay, so autism now affects 1 in 88 children and 1 in 54 boys. And the numbers and the statistics around autism diagnoses are actually growing. Okay. More children will be diagnosed with autism this year than with AIDS, diabetes, and cancer combined. Wow. So those are the kind of numbers that we're talking about. It's the fastest growing serious developmental disability in the United States. And boys are 4 times more likely than girls to have autism. I found that was really interesting. And there's no medical detection or cure for autism. Okay, so autism and the autism spectrum disorders, so they'll call them ASDs. It's a group of complex neurological disorders that really affect an individual's ability to communicate, form relationships with others, organize and prioritize information, and form relationships with other people and relate to their surroundings. It is a developmental disability. So it's characterized by difficulties in social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communications, repetitive behaviors, difficulties in prioritizing, as I mentioned, and motor coordination and attention. So there aren't any specific no known causes. They know it's related in some cases to gene changes and gene mutations, and some other risk factors such as low birth weight, prematurity, or some kind of trauma, a brain trauma during the labor and delivery process put people at risk. This kind of talks about the diagnosis and then the spectrum and what it means. So because a person has autism means a very different thing by for different people. And so it's not all one thing. It varies from very individuals that really cannot be out, and then to individuals that are highly functioning and may not be diagnosed until adulthood. So there's some question about vaccines and some media attention about vaccines and causes for it. So I want to talk a little bit about Asperger's. Asperger's is a highly functioning form of autism that we may be more likely as teachers to see in the classroom, or students with these kinds of behaviors. It's very repetitive. They would have repetitive routines. I think you may see differences in speech and language. They may just seem a little bit odd compared to their peers, would have problems with communications, and clumsy and uncoordinated motor function. So there are some more descriptions of Asperger's. I talked with a friend of mine who has a child that's autistic, and really kind of pulled at my heartstrings with her talking about, it's not a physical thing. He looks normal, but and he behaves normally to a point, but then there are times where he's like a giant kid, and that she needs to go in and help him calm down before he has a meltdown. Crowds are a problem. So she talks a little bit about her perspective, and then from her perspective also things that a mother's advice, and I thought this was really kind of key. If his teachers, the good teachers, they took the time to explain it to him, but times if they didn't have the time to explain it to him, or he wasn't understanding, then explain it to the parents and let the parents help explain it to the kids. So there were kind of some other advice and tips she has for teachers. And these are a couple of common public figures that are sometimes characterized as having Asperger's. So the person on the left is the Sheldon Cooper character from The Big Bang Theory, and then Bill Gates. So there's been some question that both of those people may have Asperger's. The Sheldon Cooper character is not necessarily described that way, but defined that way. Writers have said that he doesn't, but he definitely displays behaviors. A lot of people with autism, and my friend actually said he definitely has autism. Autism Oregon has one of the highest rates of autism in the country. So there's some information about that. In the presentation, there are teacher recommendations, what you can do, in terms of educating yourself, and some details about how to do that. Reaching out to the parent, which is certainly something that we should be doing for all of the children, but definitely with children with Asperger's, any sort of autism or other special needs. Things that you can do in preparing the classroom and educating peers and promoting the social goal. So, and of course there are IEPs and the 504 that will be available to help you in the classroom. Those aren't things that we'll have to do by ourselves, but are available. So relating to this class, I think an autism identity is that we talks about, a part of autism for autistic people is that it's a part of their identity, and having that and the way their brain function is part of who they are. So this is an ad that ran in Seattle. It was on buses and it was all over. It was a big campaign that was run. It says, "Let's wipe out cancer, diabetes, and autism in his lifetime." Cute little boy, interesting ad. Actually, the autism community found this to be very ableist. And really their stance was, when we read a sentence about wiping out autism, we experience that as equivalent to saying wiping out autistic people because of their relationship to that. So the response from Seattle Children's Hospital was they were actually surprised at the backlash, but they did pull the ads. Okay, so talking about the ableist concern, a video about autism, some other resources are available. There are 2 studies currently that are recruiting for autism research in Oregon, and then a poem to close about an autistic mind. So that is my presentation. Thank you.